shit just got real. Yeah! What is up, guys? It is Chris from the WWFuInternetWork here with a video series, a brand new video series. This video series is called FAV5. Not any correlation to do with Booker T, but Booker T kind of was an inspiration for this. Because if you watch SmackDown, you know, Booker T gives his FAV5 every week. It changes every week. That's just Booker T. He's kind of, I think he's a forgetful guy, so he changes his list every week. We really don't know Booker T. He may be even on marijuana, some drug. He looks like that kind of guy. But basically what we're doing is, there's multiple topics in professional wrestling always up for dispute. The best WWE champion, the worst gimmick in pro wrestling. And I thought, last night I was laying in a bed in the woods. No, I don't live in the woods. But I was laying in bed, I'm like, not the John Cena, you can't see me, but 5. Why don't I make a video series, specifically on the WWFuInternetWork, based on the number 5. And I wrote 5 all over the walls. I wrote them everywhere. It's tattooed on my right butt cheek. And I was just like, 5. What can I use 5 for? And I thought, I'd take pro wrestling topics and make a cumulative list of the top 5. I'm the freaking man, I know, right? So today is the first installment, and today's installment is the top 5 professional wrestlers I feel should not have been released by the World Wrestling Entertainment. Let's get started. Alright, coming in at number 5, Chavo Guerrero. Yes, Chavo Guerrero. Starting off in the legacy of the Guerrero professional wrestling family, Chavo Guerrero came to the WWE as a cruiserweight. He basically was pretty successful throughout his WWE career, with some high spots including a feud with Rey Mysterio, being a part of the Familia with Edge, the Edgeheads, Bam Neely, and basically he had a pretty successful run in ECW, and WWE's version of ECW. But unfortunately, he was released, basically leaving a bad taste in every wrestling fan's mouth by becoming Jack Swagger's Soaring Eagle. I don't know if any of you guys remember that, but unfortunately it has been embedded into my nightmares, and it is a horrible thing to think about. But I just feel WWE kind of missed out on Chavo Guerrero. I feel it was kind of a bad thing to release him, you know what I mean? One, it's kind of disrespectful to the family of the Guerreros. You don't do that. You don't release Chavo. He's a good wrestler, and, you know, that's a thing WWE tends to skip over, is someone being a good wrestler. Chavo Guerrero basically always had a good to decent match with anyone he wrestled, with a couple of exceptions. You know, when he wrestled Hornswoggle, But that's besides the point. I feel WWE kind of basically let a lot of people down by releasing Chavo Guerrero. Would I expect him to be a WWE champion? No, not at all. But I definitely expected WWE to keep him around to be, 1, a leader of the locker room, a vet, 2, probably carry the mid-card. I feel Chavo Guerrero definitely could have put some guys over and went over some guys. That's how it works in wrestling, and I feel Chavo Guerrero would have been the perfect guy for that. I feel WWE prematurely released him. I don't think they should have ever released him, and it's kind of a shame. Alright, coming in at number 4, the gold standard, Shelton Benjamin. Shelton Benjamin, okay, a lot of people are going to definitely dispute this, but a lot of people feel Shelton Benjamin has no charisma and he wasn't a good fit for WWE. I beg to differ. I feel the athleticism and pure wrestling ability stands out and basically cancels out the no charisma thing. I feel Shelton Benjamin, you know, WWE there's always the rumors they want a first ever WWE African American World Champion. They kind of did that with Booker T when he was World Heavyweight Champ, but I think they're leaning more towards it being a WWE Champion, and I just feel Shelton Benjamin definitely could have been that guy. But then people will argue, wait, what about Bobby Lashley? Well, Bobby Lashley's a goner, he went to MMA and failed. But Shelton Benjamin, I feel, was really just a good overall wrestler. And WWE doesn't have tons of good overall wrestlers. Wrestling! I love wrestling. But I just feel Shelton Benjamin, they definitely saw something in him. Around 2008, he won the U.S. title, had a pretty decent reign, but then, you know, of course, lost it, and then, you know, got released. I just feel they definitely could have expanded upon that and had him go over some bigger guys. He came in with Charlie Haas. They were a great tag team together. He proved he can do that. He proved he can be a good singles competitor. I guess it was maybe something backstage at WWE. We really never will know unless he does an interview and openly admits what happened between him and WWE. A lot of guys don't even know why they are released. That's pretty sad that you don't know why you're released, because, John Laurinaitis, he may be a jerk on TV, but I heard he's a bigger jerk behind the curtain. And it's just horrible that these guys don't know why they're being released. But back to Shelton Benjamin. I feel WWE, yet again, prematurely released somebody that easily could have made him some money if they tweaked the character, made him a serious contender, and overall a good character that people would want to invest money into buying t-shirts, action figures, anything. And I feel Shelton Benjamin definitely could have been a contender for the first ever African-American WWE champion. But he's been released, and now has a successful career in Ring of Honor, where he's technically the #2 tag team, or #1 tag team, arguably, since he's the champ, the tag team champ in Ring of Honor, and good for him. I'm happy for him. Good stuff. Alright, #3 is actually a women wrestler who was in WWE and was released. Mickie James. Before I get on to Mickie James, if TNA did one thing better than WWE, it was picking up talent and recognizing the talent. Because they picked up Mickie James, made her women's champ, and she's been a big deal in TNA ever since. But WWE, on the other hand, they did make her a big deal. She came in at Trish Stratus's stalker. She was in love with Trish Stratus. It was good TV. And she became the women's champ. She became the Divas champ. She basically conquered the women's division. Yet again, this is a case of leaving a bad taste in, the fans' mouth when they released someone. They released Mickie James when she was being called, like, Piggy Mickey, being called fat on TV. And it was pathetic. Mickie James, I think, is one of the most overall sound and one of the best women wrestlers out there. And I feel that's what WWE is missing. They are missing a good women's division. They do have tons of bodacious, beautiful divas. Kelly, Eve, Rosa Mendes. Rosa Mendes, that's a whole separate video. But they need wrestlers. People like watching women that wrestle. I guess it's some sort of strange fetish for 99.9% of wrestling fans like to see women kick ass. It's just a thing. That's why it worked in the Attitude Era with Trish Stratus, Lita, Stacy Keibler, the list goes on and on, Molly Holly, Victoria. It worked because they liked seeing women that were hot and kicked ass. Now WWE is focusing on the aspect of hiring women that are hot, not women that are good wrestlers. And I feel WWE, yet again, prematurely released somebody. I feel Mickie James could have had an extensive career in WWE and basically could have carried the women's division. But of course, she didn't, and now she's in TNA. #1 and #2 were really, really close on the list. I basically had to debate for a while. I won a math debate. I say that 5 times fast. But I had to debate for a while who should be #1, who should be #2. I finally thought who should be #2. #2 is MVP. Montel Vontavious Porter. He came into WWE being this next big thing. He had, the storyline was he signed the most elaborate WWE contract. He was going to be the next big thing. He was in a freaking Inferno match. He was U.S. champ. He was tag champs with Matt Hardy. He had a pretty good WWE career for when he was there. Yet again, I feel this is WWE not recognizing pure talent. Besides being a good wrestler, MVP had a character going for him. This MVP character was such a cocky, stuck-up, jerk, rich son of a gun that no one liked, but was actually giving him a reaction. And, that's a good thing, because there are people that WWE sends out that people aren't supposed to like, but they actually don't like the person, like Lord Tensai. Everyone hates Lord Tensai because he's Lord Tensai. MVP, people didn't like MVP because of the character. Lord Tensai, everyone hates him because he's fat and no one likes him. And that's another video, yet again. But MVP, I just feel could have been world champ material. I'm dead serious. World champ material. Even if he wasn't world champion, at least carrying the mid-card, being a good United States champion, taking on good talent, putting over talent. I just feel MVP was a great overall wrestler, and it's just a shame that they released him. You know, he's huge in Japan now, which is good because, you know, if he ever wants to come back to WWE, he has that credibility because Japan, if you're big in Japan, you can get big anywhere. That's basically what they say. And MVP, you know, a lot of people, he's probably the most debated guy on whether he could have been world champ. I feel he could have. He definitely could work with anybody and make anybody look good or make anybody look bad. And that takes some talent. And I feel MVP was an overall talented guy that WWE just basically screwed up on. Now, it is time for number 1. Mr. Kennedy! Kennedy. Yes, Mr. Kennedy is number 1. Mr. Kennedy is basically a bearer of bad luck. That is the only reason he is not in WWE right now, and it's also because of Randy Orton. That is probably one of the only reasons why I hate Randy Orton. Mr. Kennedy came into WWE and beat like 5 former world champs. He went over Batista. He went over Rey Mysterio. I think he beat Eddie Guerrero. He went over everyone. I think he even went over Booker T. 5 times. And came in, had a feud with The Undertaker. They don't throw out feuds with The Undertaker. They obviously saw something in him. And to give him a feud with The Undertaker that's saying something. Not everyone gets a feud with The Undertaker. Only the best feud with The Undertaker. John Cena, for Christ's sakes, hasn't even feuded with The Undertaker yet. And then, you know, Mr. Kennedy, he left for a little bit, came back, basically got fired because of Randy Orton, because Randy Orton complained about, he dropped me on my shoulder, I have a mobile shoulder, and if I get dropped on it, I'm going to be forced to cut a bunch of stale and boring promos. And Mr. Anderson was fired, or Mr. Kennedy was fired, then got picked up by TNA, it was called Mr. Anderson. But this is the prime example of, he would have been a World Heavyweight Champion if WWE basically won. When he came back, wrote him back into the main event, so Vince McMahon could basically tell Randy Orton to screw off. It's just a shame, because Mr. Kennedy was just someone you loved to hate. And I feel his career did so much so quick. I feel he was kind of screwed over when he lost the Money in the Bank to Edge, even though that did enhance Edge's career, even though he didn't really need it at that point. I just feel that if Kennedy stuck around, if WWE decided to keep him, and creative just started writing better stuff for him, he would have been a world champion. No doubt in my mind. That, number 1, Mr. Kennedy, that is probably the guy that everyone would put on this list because it is true. This is a case of WWE basically having to suck up to their main guys so that, you know, they make the main guys happy, and then, you know, all the other guys suffer. And basically Mr. Kennedy had to suffer because of Randy Orton, and that is why he's not in WWE anymore, and that is why he's probably will never be back in WWE, which is a sad thing to think about, but you never really know. It's horrible that he was never a world champ. So guys, that was FAV5 episode 1. Comment below your top 5 for guys you felt should have not been released by WWE. That was my FAV5, and I guess there's only one last thing I can say. Can you dig it? Sucker! 5-time WCW champion Booker T! Peace!